Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Infinity, and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and of course, the law of attraction. It's really funny. I don't know if you heard that in the background, but right as I was beginning this recording, I actually heard a car horn honking somewhere through the window. So maybe that is some message of confirmation, but I'm hearing trying to get your attention. So just like when you honk the horn of a car and you're often trying to get another driver's attention, you may have someone in your life at the moment who, in a sense, is trying to get your attention. Interesting. That might be a message for someone. So let's go ahead and start to shuffle and channel into the reading. If you would like to tie your energy into this reading in a stronger way, I do recommend liking the video and subscribing to the channel, as liking and subscribing are forms of energetic transference that do allow me to pick up more easily on your energy and channel more specifically for you and your situation. I also want to say that all of these messages are collective in nature. And what this means, of course, is that it's really your intuition that is the guide through this reading and through all of your life experiences. So I always recommend using your intuition above all else to determine which messages are for you and which might be meant for others. So there is a download coming through as I've been shuffling. You guys know sometimes when we start to channel into the energies and I start to shuffle, and of course, when all of you are sending your own powerful intentions for this reading, either consciously or unconsciously, just by being present here, sometimes in those times early in the reading, downloads start to come through that don't even require the cards necessarily. So that's actually what I'm feeling here at the beginning of the reading. There's a few things coming through. And the first thing coming through is that you are being called to value and honor your dreams, your voice, and your inner child above what other people might think of you or how they're going to perceive you or the things that you are doing or creating in this world. And so what you might find as this is this next level of your soul's expansion that you're being called to is that you might find yourself in situations where you meet someone new or you encounter someone that you get along with or have a really good conversation with, and then you reach this point where you have to make a choice between really sharing your voice, your truth, your truest expression, being who you are, and doing what you feel would appease that person or make them think more highly of you or like you more. Now, of course, all of this is happening in the mind. This is not to say it's the reality of the situation, but it's almost like we are being called to break down this sense of perceived rejection, this fear of being seen and heard for who we really are, this fear of our creations being seen and being felt around the world, our energy being felt. Because for the person that I'm speaking to here, I strongly feel as though you may have been raised in an environment. So this could have been your family, just your upbringing. If it wasn't your personal family, this could just be society generally. But I feel that you were raised as a child to betray so much of yourself for the people around you, to abandon your own dreams, to not speak your mind, to dilute what you were actually feeling to make the people around you feel more comfortable. And this process of self-betrayal ultimately left you feeling really fragmented, because essentially every time you would do that, every time you would betray yourself, even in some small way, to make someone else happy. It was chipping off another piece of your most authentic self. And this stage of your journey has been all about retrieval of all of those chipped off pieces. And I'm seeing this mosaic. And of course, mosaics are made from broken pieces of glass or whatever the material might be. And it's interesting because it's almost like, yes, you may have chipped away at those parts of your authentic self. You may have lost so much of yourself, fragmented yourself for a time by betraying yourself in order to please others or to fall in line when it came to what society expected of you. But what you are going to create from those broken pieces is going to be a mosaic even more beautiful than what you started with, because it contains those broken pieces that can refract light and color in so many different unique ways. But just like with that mosaic, it's about retrieving all the pieces and then organizing them, putting them back together in a coherent way. So I know we're talking at this kind of high level here. It's also very metaphoric, but I feel that for the group I'm speaking to here, you know what this means for you. You've been in that process of retrieving your broken pieces, retrieving those parts of yourself that you may have chipped away at for years or even decades. And you're putting all of that back together. You're processing all of that in a way that is somehow making it both coherent, but also making it into this beautiful masterpiece. So I feel that for many of you listening, there might actually even be a certain activity, or maybe there are multiple activities that you do that help you in retrieving and processing these so-called broken or chipped off pieces of yourself from your past. Now, this is going to look very different from person to person. This could be walking in nature, meditating, journaling, maybe working with a counselor or a therapist. This could be music, art, whatever this is for you. But I just feel there is this process of retrieval taking place on this deep internal level that involves some kind of tool or resource or activity that is facilitating that process. And as that process is happening, again, it's taking all of those fragmented pieces, putting them back together, and turning them into this piece of art that we've been referring to here as a mosaic. But part of this process seems to really involve, in fact, a major part of this process seems to require you not to care what other people think of what you're doing with those once broken parts, what other people think of how you're choosing to heal yourself or to transmute your pain or to share your story. Because I do feel that there is this fear that can come up from time to time, this desire to be perceived as this perfect image rather than this multifaceted mosaic with all of these broken pieces that have been taken and put together in this way. And I just so strongly feel that even people who cross your path at this time, who seem to judge you or who seem to misunderstand you, are giving you a gift in the sense that they are teaching you how to show up for yourself, how to no longer care how other people perceive you or respond to you as you are sharing yourself with the world. And I'm also getting the message that the right ones, and maybe this is something that is so important for you to be affirming to your inner self at this time, but the right ones will always connect with you the more deeply you are connecting to yourself. The right ones will always love you more the more that you love yourself. They will desire you to feel as free and happy and empowered and creative as you can possibly be. And when I say the right ones, of course, there's really no right or wrong here in the black and white sense, but it's more so the ones who are most aligned with you on your highest vibrational timeline will connect with you more the more that you are connecting with that higher energy within yourself. And of course, the opposite is true too. The opposite truism that those who are threatened by your growth, those who see you thriving and want to knock you down a peg or want you to think less highly of yourself, those who react negatively, for some reason, I'm just hearing, don't be ashamed of your art. And of course, art can apply so broadly here, but that just feels like it's something for someone. Like it's beautiful that you are sharing something so real and so vulnerable and so filled with light. But anyway, that was just a bit of a side message. The ones who can't connect with you on a higher vibrational timeline will naturally be threatened by your growth because they have a subconscious awareness that you are growing into spaces and places that they currently cannot follow because of their own current personal vibration. And this actually leads me into the second download, which is funny because I didn't really know that these two downloads were even connected. I thought that they were completely separate. But now it's coming up that the secondary download is about people or energies from your past that you still feel an attachment to, that you still feel a love for, and possibly an over responsibility for, and even a guilt for in some sense. And how at this time, there are people from your past. For some of you, this might be one person. For others of you, this could be groups of people or multiple people. But there are individuals who it's almost like you can just feel this density around their energy. You can feel this heaviness, like they may say the right things, but it's almost like I just keep getting this message of like trying to placate someone, trying to appease someone by limiting yourself in certain ways, by not fully sharing yourself or fully going for your dreams, just to kind of keep this person from acting out or from reacting against you. It's almost like energetically at times feeling like they're prisoner, feeling like they have this hold over you where you can go so far, but when you go too far, they start to pull you back in or react against you. Because again, it could be a group of people, but this person or group represents people who are still themselves on a lower vibrational timeline. And because of that, they have this subconscious awareness of where you're going, where you're headed. They can sense that you are growing, expanding, thriving, that you are on this success trajectory. And they can sense that they are disconnected from that trajectory. But we are being required to release that sense of over responsibility for what others are doing with themselves, their energy, and their own life experience. You are meant to be the example, not the bridge. And that's been a major message coming through, not just in this reading, but in many recent previous readings as well, because I do feel there's a person or maybe a group of people that's still pulling on you in a way because they still want to use you as this bridge to their own happiness. And you will find yourself feeling just increasingly resistant to that dynamic. Because your freedom is essential at this time. I'm hearing freedom is essential for expansion. If you do not allow yourself your own freedom to be who you are, freedom to create, freedom to share your voice and your light with the world in a full-blown way, to chase your dreams, if you don't allow yourself that freedom internally, you cannot expand into your highest potential. It will stagnate your growth. And ironically, sometimes we can egoically trick ourselves into this kind of mind trap in spirituality where we think that if we sacrifice ourselves in certain ways or for certain people, and follow certain rules that we've come up with or that have been placed upon us mentally and consciously, we tell ourselves that in those acts of self-limitation and self-sacrifice, we can reach some kind of growth or expansion spiritually. But the opposite is true. The more that we limit and restrict and dilute ourselves, the more that we stagnate our growth spiritually. So I just feel like there is this person who it's almost like you're placating them, but they won't be happy until you just completely sacrifice yourself, your freedom, your own happiness for them. But ironically, even in that case, they still wouldn't be happy because this person just feels like a void. It feels like right now it's like this black hole of neediness in a way, but it's because they are cosmically being pushed within themselves to solidify, to stabilize internally, to find their own connection to their inner self. For some reason, I heard, when you're looking for me, you won't find me, but you will find yourself. And that is why you felt this pull to look for me in the first place. I know that sounds so strange, but let's kind of unravel this. It's almost like sometimes people connect with you in a way where it's like they see this quality about you that they really value, this light, this energy, and it causes them to want to pursue you or seek you out physically or connect with you more, whether that's romantic or non-romantic. However, on that journey, what's really occurring is they're being sent to find that light and energy and vulnerability within themselves. So it's like in their pursuit of connecting more deeply with you, they will actually find themselves connecting more deeply with their inner self. And that very often is the purpose that you enter other people's lives, especially at this point on your soul's journey. And I feel that's the case with this person. It's like they are mistaking this physical connection with you, more time with you, more energy from you, more sacrifice from you. They are mistaking that for the spiritual journey, when in actuality, they are being pushed within themselves. And until they do that self-reconnection work on a really deep level, they are going to find themselves quite literally incapable of connecting with you on a deeper level in the physical world. Because that's just how your energy operates. That's how you operate. You may not even be fully aware of this, but people will be unable to connect with you consistently in the physical realm unless they are connecting more deeply with their inner self, unless they are doing the inner work. So what you're going to find is it's so essential to listen to your intuition when it comes to these connections above how things look in the physical or what they are asking for from you, or even above your artificial feelings of guilt, because so much of what we are processing out is the guilt, not just of our own, but of our ancestors, our societal guilt. Feelings of over obligation and over responsibility to fix, heal, or change others, and that self-sacrificing of ourselves in the process. We are unraveling and healing all of that through our refusal to compromise on our dreams, on sharing our voice, on sharing our light, on following our intuition. The universe is going to increasingly show you that when something feels off, and notice this and connect the dots, because you're going to find that when something feels wrong, when something feels off and you can't explain why, and logically you're telling yourself that you need to do something, you need to go somewhere, you need to connect with someone, you need to whatever it is. Logically, you're thinking that, people around you may be thinking that, someone might be trying to get that out of you, but for some reason, it's just not feeling right. Either the timing doesn't feel right, the circumstances don't feel right, something about it just gives you a bad energy. And you are going to notice in those types of situations that as you choose to listen to that intuitive sensing over the logic, as you choose to follow your intuition and do what feels best to you intuitively, even if it looks selfish, even if it doesn't make sense to other people, even if it triggers a little bit of guilt inside of you, you don't do what feels off to you intuitively just to please someone else or just because it makes sense logically. And you will find in these situations, you will be confirmed after. You will realize and connect the dots. Wow, that's why it felt so off. And I couldn't explain it, but I couldn't have known that that was going to be the outcome, or that that was the reason that I wasn't supposed to connect with that person or do that thing or go to that place. But now it all makes sense. So you are really being asked to solidify those conscious connections between the times that you listen to your intuition over your logic and connect the dots to how it works out, because you are going to be sent many, many signs of confirmation. Your intuition, it really is like being in an airplane and getting a bird's eye view of the whole landscape, seeing everything, past, present, future, or at least being able to sense it subconsciously and then feel it intuitively. Your intuition is always guiding you through the present moment. But the thing is, so often we deny our powerful intuitive psychic sensing to make other people around us happy, or because what we're receiving intuitively doesn't necessarily make sense on the ground without having that higher bird's eye view perspective. So, wow, over 20 minutes into the reading, and I'm still just going to be shuffling the cards. We haven't pulled a card yet, but those were the two major downloads coming through, which again, it's very strange but beautiful that those two downloads that came through in the introduction actually ended up being so interconnected. I'm hearing you're being protected for a reason with the garden and the gate upright. Someone wants to access you, but they can't, and that's for a reason. Just like we talked about with the intuition, if you're feeling closed off to someone, if you're feeling as though it's not the right time to connect with them or to take a connection deeper or to do more with them, your intuition is protecting you in this situation for a reason. And I just get the sense, I know I keep bringing this up, but I feel like there is a person or a group of people that at times tries to get you to deny your intuition for them, or like to make some kind of exception for them. And we have the journey card. So the sense I get is you are on this journey that someone doesn't understand, or a group of people doesn't understand. And I'm getting this very nomadic energy, someone who is kind of drifting, floating around, moving around, appearing to be ungrounded to other people, appearing to really be defying the norm. Now, for some of you, this might be literal. Maybe you do frequently move or travel or move around the planet. For others of you, this might be speaking to your journey on more of a cosmic level, that you are on this journey of moving as you feel guided, not being defined or labeled or tied down by society or by other people. And it's almost like someone here is uncomfortable by your nomadic energy. Again, whether that's literal or more symbolic, they're uncomfortable that you appear to be so ungrounded, untethered, that you seem to move to the sound of your own drum, that maybe they can't access you as much as they'd like to, or they can't understand you consciously as deeply as they'd like to, which, by the way, we could do a whole video on this, but there is really something to be said for the process by which people get to know you consciously, because we've referenced this before, but it's so fascinating and worth mentioning here, which is often you will have people who meet you and feel almost as though they're running circles around your energy. You will have people that almost feel as though they may know your name, or they may know a bit about you, and even spend months or years around you, talking to you even. And yet, even though you're not trying to necessarily close yourself off to them, they might tell you that they feel as though they don't really know you, or they might even label you as being fake or flaky because they just can't seem to grasp you or get to know you. This isn't because you're being flaky or you're being fake. You're being very authentic. It's that quite literally, if someone isn't on your frequency wavelength, they are not going to be able to consciously register and understand you on a deeper level as a person and as a soul. No matter how much physical 3D time they spend around you, no matter how much physical conversation the two of you have together, because as we've been talking about on this channel, our connections are becoming increasingly energetically based along with our entire planet. Our whole world is becoming much more energy based as we are shifting into what we sometimes call the fifth dimension. So what this means to our interpersonal relationships is the way that we meet and get to know others is happening much more on an energetic level, really 99% plus on an energetic level. And then it's just manifesting itself, that kind of 1% in the physical. I'm hearing something about distance as well. Like you might notice, maybe you've already noticed this, that distance isn't so much of a factor when it comes to your connections anymore. Meaning in the past, it may have been really difficult to maintain a long-term connection that felt deep and meaningful with someone that was at a physical distance. But now we are finding that things like time, space, distance, even the amount that we are speaking to or interacting with someone seems to be almost irrelevant to the depth of our connection with them. And this is such a strange phenomenon that we are experiencing. But anyway, the opposite is also true. So if you meet someone who's truly on your frequency, who's exuding a similar energy, you can have one conversation and feel as though they've been in your life forever. It's like you didn't meet, you were within each other all along, as Rumi says about lovers in a really beautiful Rumi quote. But even if it's non-romantic, there's still that sense that we actually meet each other in consciousness at this subconscious level that we could also think of as the quantum level before we meet physically. So sometimes we meet someone and we're not really meeting them for the first time. They've been entrenched in our psyche and vice versa. We've been entrenched in their psyche. We've been connected in the quantum realm. We've had this sense of each other. And so meeting is almost just giving a conscious face and name to the energy that we've been aware of within us and connecting with us all along. And you're going to find that you meet many soul friends that will feel this way to you if you haven't met them already. But do let me know in the comments if you've met anyone that you've had this sense with, either romantically or platonically recently, where you simply felt like you were putting a name and face to an energy that you'd been feeling for a really long time internally, and know that the other person is feeling it too. I'm hearing the words assume mutuality. And this is part of the law of energetic transference, which we could talk a lot more of on this channel. We do reference it in general terms very often, but essentially, you are also going to notice the way you feel about others is the way they feel about you. You're sending each other an energy. Now, the beautiful thing about this is this also means you have control over the trajectory of those relationships, because when you consciously recognize energetic transference, you recognize that when someone's feeling a certain way about you, it's because you're feeling a certain way about them, and vice versa. As we recognize this, we then can consciously take control and we can clean up our side of the street, so to speak. So on our side, we can shift our own energy when it comes to the other person. We can shift how we think about them, how we feel about them. And the beautiful thing about this is this will actually alter the energy of our connection with that person. So I don't know why this is coming up here. This feels really relevant for someone at this time, but essentially, if you are feeling love and care for another person, it's very likely that you're feeling that way because that other person is feeling a great deal of love and care for you as well. But the opposite is also true. So when you are feeling kind of a weird energy from someone. And yes, maybe it was that person who started it, because these types of energies can really go back and forth. So they may have sent you some negative energy. You may have picked up on it, kind of passed it back to them, and vice versa, kind of continuing to strengthen that energy bond in a negative direction. But in these cases, we are learning conscious control within our connections, how to forgive on our side, how to release those negative energy strings on our side so that we can free ourselves to our own highest good, our own highest potential. But what we will find in the process is we can actually shift the way that other people perceive us and react to us as well. And even connections that at times feel really heavy, feel really challenging, know that if you can imagine a better version of that connection, what you are seeing into is a higher vibrational timeline where that already exists. Very often, there is a higher vibrational version of a person that can connect with us on a higher timeline. The problem is it requires us to have the vision and the confidence and stability within ourselves to not sacrifice that higher frequency to please the lower version of that person, to please the version of them that's on the lower vibrational timeline. If we learn the art, master the art of holding that higher frequency, aligning with that higher timeline, yes, there will be a period of time where we might feel rejected by that person or feel as though they are reacting against us. But if we continue to hold that higher frequency or energy, very often we will actually inspire a higher vibrational version of them out of them that can actually connect with us in a healthier way from that higher place. So again, I'm not sure why all of these messages are coming through here. This has been such a unique reading, but I am so grateful to all of you here listening, and I'm really excited to take this into the extended version of the reading on Patreon. So on Patreon, we are going to dive deeper into the messages. So if you're resonating with the reading here, you may find that extended reading on Patreon helpful as well. I'm also going to be doing an aura scan. So I'm going to be scanning your energy and picking up on and channeling into any threads of energy, any connections, people, situations that want to come through in that reading. So the link to join us in the extended version of this reading on Patreon is in the pinned comment and description box underneath this video. For now, I am going to be closing this first reading here on YouTube with a Rumi Oracle card, and this card is commitment, which is interesting because I think this is the same card that I actually pulled in the extended reading that we did on Monday. So those of you who are on Patreon may be familiar with this card having come out there as well. Maybe it's a sign for someone to explore Monday's Patreon reading if you haven't already. But I'm going to go ahead and read from the guidebook here. We forget to trust in what is because we get caught up in attachment and fear surrounding our desires. Rather than letting life move us, we try to move life. There is a way forward on your life path that needs to be seen by you now. It will be helpful for you to have that clarity and that certainty. You might have already caught a glimpse of it, but be doubting your vision or yourself. This oracle comes as a reminder to you. Don't doubt. What you are feeling deep within the passionate love of your heart light is true. It is real. You are being led into it by the progress of life itself. You must trust in this, even if at times it seems as though you are being led away from the vision. So that feels like a beautiful place to close the reading. If anything here did connect with you in a personal way, I would love to hear from you in the comments under the video. Of course, if you do want to continue on with me to the extended version of this reading on Patreon, I will be leaving a link to that in the pinned comment and description box. Otherwise, I am sending you huge amounts of love and light energy. Have an amazing remainder of your day, and I will connect with you here again in Friday's reading.